This book is called House Arrest. That doesn't fit the story, but I'm guessing they went with that title so every book in the trilogy could have the word house in the title.
Argo Font Book Review, Argo Font Book Review.
Continuing from last book, Frank and Joe are on a reality TV show called Deprivation House. There are 12 other contestants, which is too many characters to keep track of. I know they wanted to have a lot of suspects, but I don't think it works when half the characters are unimportant to the story. You can tell this book is written by a different author than the first one, because they made small changes to the characters. Olivia is now cutthroat, and her alliance subplot has been dropped. Brynn has been changed from a weird girl into an attractive damsel in distress. Silent Girl now has a name, but she still never talks or does anything. Someone writes the word murder on Ripley's forehead. Everyone argues over who did it. They mention 4-year-old Anna, who saw a murder here 10 years ago. This upsets Brynn so much, she cries and runs away. Frank calms her down in private. He notices her eyes are so cute, and uh-oh, I think Frank is stealing Joe's girlfriend. There's a TV movie about Anna and the murder. When Brynn hears about it, she runs away again. Boy, Brynn sure has strong feelings about this girl who's the same age as her, huh? Outside, Mikey gets some ice water. James steals it because he loves chewing ice. James flirts with Ripley, and the two of them leave together. I was intrigued by this possible romance between the two meanest characters on the TV show, but it never gets mentioned again. What a letdown. James steals Brynn's ice water. Be warned, this next part is super gross. The culprit put glass pieces in with the ice, so James's mouth starts pouring blood everywhere. They have to remove the glass shards with tweezers, and it is just so disgusting. Why did they put it in the book? The next challenge is a potato chip throwing contest. Totally doesn't match with the bloody attempted murder, but whatever. As a reward for winning, Frank gets to decide what's taken away next. Brynn snuggles up to him and says she'd really like it if he took away their TV privileges. She does this 3 times. Gee, she doesn't want anyone watching that movie about Anna, does she? Brynn also gets flirty. She says she feels safe around Frank. Frank knows Joe doesn't like this flirting, but that doesn't stop him from hanging out with her. Come on, Frank, leave your bro's girlfriend alone. Ripley loses food privileges when she loses the challenge. Mikey thinks Ripley is secretly sneaking food inside the show's confessional. Joe stakes out the area. He sees Ripley hide in the confessional for an hour, but he doesn't bother to look inside to see what she's doing. Joe is not a good detective. It's later revealed Ripley is having secret meals, but the producers are allowing it because she has an eating disorder. The culprit puts knives in Brynn's makeup bag. Her hand gets cut badly. She gets cozy with Frank again. He wants to kiss her, but they're interrupted when the culprit attacks Mary. The culprit pushed her down in the mud. How terrifying! Mary says she's a tough person with experience in handling rattlesnakes. That's a somewhat clunky bit of exposition, but hey, it had to go somewhere. Brynn threatens to leave the show. That's how upset she is over someone getting pushed in the mud. Frank convinces her to stay by getting rid of the TV. The culprit strikes again when they push a wood pile on Frank. The Hardys try to figure out who set them up. They learn Veronica told Mary to tell Ripley to tell the Hardys to go there. This chain of events is far too complicated for the Hardys to figure out. Just like in the last book, the next challenge is to deal with disgusting gunk in the pool. Just like last book, the challenge is called off when Frank finds the dead body of a production assistant. Just like last book, the Hardys decide not to investigate the murder. That's a lot of similarities between this book's murder and the last book's murder. Did they accidentally reuse the same chapter? Again, Brynn wants to quit the show, so Frank gives her a pep talk. She's about to kiss him when she gets self-conscious about the TV cameras. Frank and Joe get into a minor fight over Brynn. Joe is so surprised Frank legitimately likes a girl, he agrees to step aside. Good for Joe, but the Frank likes a girl for the first time storyline is a slap in the face to Belinda Conrad, Frank's love interest for this series. Bobby quits when the culprit sets his room on fire. Mikey is kicked off the show for sneaking candy. Veronica replaces them with two new contestants, twins named George and Georgina. This is the third time she's introduced new contestants to replace old ones, and it makes me unhappy. As I said, there are too many contestants on the show. It would be so much better to end this book with 7 competitors, not 12. Plus, we know for certain that all of the new characters are innocent, since most of the crimes happened before they arrived. The culprit writes a threatening message on a window, and they put a rattlesnake in Ripley's bed. Joe captures the snake, and Frank runs outside, just in time to catch Mary red-handed with snake gloves. Mary's the culprit. She killed the assistant by accident, and she's quickly arrested. If you haven't read one of these trilogies before, books 1 and 2 always end with the same cliffhanger. Right after the culprit is arrested, a new culprit magically appears, so they can stretch out the story for another book. The end. Post-book follow-up. This was better written than the previous book in the trilogy, but there's only so much a good writer can do with this story. Like the last book, there are too many characters to give them the space they need to develop. There's not enough time for the Hardys to have a satisfactory investigation when over half of every chapter is spent resolving the previous chapter's cliffhanger. The love triangle with Brynn and the Hardys was my favorite part of the book, although I think it was too heavy on Frank. I wanted to hear more from Joe's point of view. Or at least I wanted to see him talk to Brynn about Frank. That should have happened in this book. It was a different dynamic to have the Hardys be vaguely mad at each other. The last book heavily suggested one of the contestants is 4-year-old Anna in disguise. This book heavily suggests Brynn has a strong connection to Anna. Too bad the Hardys aren't smart enough to pick up on these hints. I'm guessing Brynn is the culprit, she's Anna in disguise. That's my prediction for the next book. The series seems to enjoy having the Hardys kiss a woman who ends up being the culprit. Overall, I like this better than the last book, but the two are incredibly similar. I wouldn't be surprised if they came from the same outline. If you read one but not the other, you wouldn't miss much, but I would recommend this book over the previous one. I give Hardy Boys Undercover Brothers number 23, House Arrest, a 5 out of 10.